Hello there, it's Crossy's Corner. I'm Martin Cross, and I have the fabulous Xander Smolders, Chief Coach of Thames Rowing Club, in the corner today. Hi, Xander.
Hi, Martin. How are you doing?
Oh, it's great. I'm really excited to chat with you today. Let's start with what sort of day you've had.
Early start because people work here. We're all here before work, so it's a 5 a.m. start.
5 a.m. Is it
well,
light
5.
then?
I need to get up at 5 a.m. because
Okay.
I need some coffee, I need breakfast, I need to feed cats.
Yeah.
The chores of the day. And
How many cats have you got?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are they called?
Jupiter and Apollo.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, it was good. I don't mind the early start, especially now because it's getting light and yeah, beautiful morning. Half the sky was like pink and red. It was gorgeous.
Oh wow!
So, yeah.
Okay. Now this is an exceptionally busy time for you. I know we were talking about that before we went on air. Do you just want to run through the sorts of events that you've got around this time, or you've been involved in?
So we had Women's Head last Saturday, which I was heavily involved in coaching the women's first aid. And then we also had the men's squad was in Amsterdam for the Heineken. So on Saturday afternoon after Weehor, I flew out to Amsterdam and then coached the Sunday there with the men's first aid. And then we have this Sunday, we have the Bowstead Cup against London Rowing Club with multiple eights, and also the Rainer Cup for the women. That's also against London.
Yeah.
And then the week after we have eights head. So yeah, it's quite a busy period, but it's also fun. It's what we do it for. So
how do you do training during that period then, bearing in mind there's so much racing? I mean, say for example, the guys in the men's eights, let's just look at them for the moment. Like, what were they doing before they raced at Heineken? Then what are they doing this week? Like, in terms of, you know, is there anything hard in the week, or do they just have an easy week? How does it work?
Well, yeah, you just do a bit more pieces here and there just to sharpen everything up and make sure that the guys have the right feel for the rhythm. And obviously, against Bowstead, it's off the start, so there's a bit more stuff you do off the start. But generally, not a lot of things change. I think obviously our big race is eights head, so we'll maybe come into Bowstead a bit loaded up, and then we'll probably take a bit of the mileage off into eights head.
What does success look like for you? And let's say take the men to start off with, and then let's go with the women. What does success look like for the men's side of the club through this period for you?
Mostly that the guy, what they've been doing, what we've been training in the winter, that they do that at eights head. So if we've, have a big focus on having the right rhythm and the right length and the distance per stroke, that actually comes out at eights head. Yeah. So that we always say that, especially in the weeks leading up to a race, and especially race week, it's like, look, just do what you do in training, focus on the length, focus on the fundamentals, don't overcomplicate it. Yes, there's a big race, but you just need to take really good strokes together and create a good rhythm. And if you do that and it goes, it's at least the level you do of training and maybe a little bit better, then you should be really happy what you've done. And that just simplifies everything. So that's basically what we're really focusing on. That's basically the main success, because you mostly do training.
Yeah.
And then you just, racing is basically repeating what you do with training. There's just a bit more of a distraction around it. That's the only difference, really.
So is it a distraction that the club down the road, London Rowing Club, are your rivals, and you're racing them this weekend, and you raced them last weekend, and you're racing them in the head of the river? So I'm guessing you can't sort of define success by how you get on against who in effect are your closest rivals.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there are. London is obviously down the road, so the main thing is that we see them a lot, but you still need to just focus on yourselves. Like, you just need to think like, but what do we need to do day to day to get better, and what do we need to do day to day to get the best performance out of ourselves in the lead up and on the day. Like that's the only thing you can really control. So like obviously because they're there and the rivalry between Thames and London is quite big, people big it up, but we try to just tell the guys and also ourselves between the coaches, let's just stick to the fundamentals, keep it simple, don't make the moment bigger than it is. Like just have a really good, solid, hard race. And then, some people ask me like, oh, what do you think is going to happen? It's like, I don't know. We'll find out by the bandstand. Then we'll know where we are, where they are. Then we'll find out. And then we'll let it develop from there. So it's just keeping it quite simple. And that's been working quite well. The last, 7, 8, maybe even 9, 10 years. So just keeping it quite simple, focus on yourselves.
Yeah. How difficult is it to get into your first state, Thames men's first state? And indeed, have you finalised it yet? Do you know, are those the 9 guys that are going to be racing at the head of the river, or are you kind of like, someone like Paddy Ryan or Rob Baker, who keeps selection going till the last moment?
I think it really depends on what the level of the group is. If it's really tight, you keep it open a bit longer because you want to see which guys really step up when it gets exciting and when it gets close to the race. So that's at the moment the case on our end. It's still quite tight, so it's still open. They know that. We've been making quite a few swaps the last couple of weeks, and with really like positive outcomes, and with the women as well. Like it's quite tight, so I was like, well, why should we close it then? Like if it's clear that there are 8 guys clearly, that 1 is clearly faster, then it's a bit easier. But no, it's still open. Obviously, it's super close. Like you're not talking about we're going to swap 4 guys next week. That's not going to happen. No.
So, just talking about have you got like someone who's like, oh, this guy is the stroke and he has to sit there, and that's been obvious? Or have you got a few that can sit in that seat, stroke in the first state?
At the moment, we've been rowing with the same stroke since like November. That's been really successul, and he's been in there the whole time.
So who is that, Sander?
Who it is George Pryor. Ex Newcastle. So
what's he got going for him in the stroke seat?
I think George is quite disciplined in his rowing style, and he's quite tenacious and quite relentless in his when he goes to pace, especially. He's a really good racer.
Yeah.
And he definitely stepped up a lot this year. Technically, like he wasn't actually a really good 8th rower last year. He was getting there, and this year he just made a massive jump in the autumn and put him there. And it's like, well, it works, so let's just go with it.
What sort of things would you define, or do you see when an oarsman like George makes a massive jump? Like, what are they doing differently?
I think it's understanding the speed of an 8, of how to like really, stay with the speed of the 8 and don't get ahead of it, or don't get overwhelmed by it, and therefore cutting short or getting on the handle, and make sure the work stays in the foot plate. Like it's actually just being comfortable and creating time while the speed is so high of an 8, especially around the front end.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to figure out. Some guys are really good in pairs and 4s because that's what they've been doing as juniors or the university program, and maybe their 8s at the university program wasn't as quick as like at Thames, and they come to Thames, and the speed is a bit higher, and it takes them a while to figure out.
Yeah. It's quite interesting. I think the combinations that you sometimes see in the stern, like the British 8 had Tom Ford and James Rudkin, and then Cambridge had like Dower de Graaf and George Bourne. So how much have you had a settled stern pair combination?
Sorry, Martin, say that again.
How much have you had 2 guys together, like George and someone in the 7 seat?
Maybe this year it's been swapping around a bit. Bit more of a combo, but I think last year we did have a good combination with our stern, and those guys are actually still in the boat. So the stern pair from last year, from the first day that came third, is now actually 5 and 6. Yeah, but then back then up the head we had Rutkin in the boats, which was basically the boat captain in the 5 seat. So, and now we said like, hey, these guys are maybe a bit better down in the middle of the boat to really make sure we have the same sort of rhythm from last year.
Yeah.
And then George was in I think the second 8 last year. And the 7-man, he actually just swapped sides, and he also joined Thames a bit later. So, but we knew he was going to be a good 7 at time. But like he's been in the 7 the last month or so. But like, yeah, so it's been a bit of a puzzle, a bit of a development.
And what's his name, Xander?
The 7-man, Alex Wood.
Okay.
He's an Aussie.
Yeah.
Yeah. He rode at UTS. He's been coached by Tim McLaren quite a bit.
Oh, well, that's a pretty big recommendation, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we move on to talk about you and your coaching influences, I'd like just to say, okay, in terms of success for the women, because obviously they raced in the women's head.
Yeah.
What were your views on how your women raced and what you got out of that event?
Well, coming back to like racing like your training, I think it was definitely, they still raced like they did a training, but it was like a mediocre day of training, if we're very honest about it. So it wasn't, they weren't super, they were like, it's okay, but it's not our best. And that's something that we actually been working on with the top 8, is that when they had like mediocre days or mediocre sessions compared to top sessions or pieces, the gap was quite big early in the winter. So we definitely closed that gap quite big, but there's still some work to do there. But on the other hand, we're like, look, if we see what we were up against and the gap we pulled with the people below us, and also we look at our performance, we should be happy where we are.
Yeah. So. Have the women had a performance this year, maybe in the fixtures against one of the Oxbridge crews, or where you were really pleased and they were at a really good level?
Not something completely outstanding. I would say when we raced Cambridge in January, we did 2 pieces and we lost the first one. It was 2 halves, just the first half. We lost the first one by 2 lengths. And I was a bit like, oh, that's a lot. And then I had a chat and we said, like, let's just simplify a couple of things. And just simplify this and just do this well. And then we won by 1.5 lengths. So the gap for them over 10 minutes could be 3.5 lengths. So that was quite like, okay, that's still something that we have to work on. So we haven't really completely nailed down what the difference is. But that's sort of a main fixture, I would say, that when I saw like, okay, the difference between good and not good was quite big. And I definitely think we narrowed it down a lot. But I would say, like, everybody always keeps hanging on about the top sessions. I was like, yeah, those top sessions, but sometimes they appear out of nowhere. You have no idea why.
Yeah.
So I was like, focus more on the mediocre days, because those are the days that show up when you're in the semi-final and the final of Henley, where the pressure's on. And you know, there's like, there are people talking to you, and you're probably a little bit more tense. Those tense races, your mediocre day will show up. So you need to focus on those days. Those are the most important days of the week. And
have you got, like you say, with the men, you've had someone in the stroke seat through the sort of autumn and this spring. How's that been for the women? Have you got somebody that you like that sits in the stroke seat?
Well, we have quite a few girls that, quite a few women that have stroked before. So Darla Matthews stroked the bridge last year.
Yeah.
And we had Izzy Cassidy, who stroked Molsey Wargrave last year. And we have Brenna Randall, who's stroked quite a few boats. She stroked the Canadian Nates in the B final at Worlds.
Oh,
so we have we have quite a few people who can stroke. So it's also just finding the right combination of what actually works the best. So we're still like in that process, I think. That's also part of it.
So, I mean, just you running through those names, I'm thinking, well, your women's eight for the
Yeah.
Wargrave should be totally stacked this year.
The Wargrave for the bridge.
Well, okay. What do you?
I think we can do well in both, but I also really aware that it's a super long season and there a lot can go well and a lot can go wrong. So I'd say like, look, let's just get better every day. We don't have to worry about Henley just yet. That's still 3 months away, 4 maybe. So a lot can happen in that time. So let's just focus on yourselves and let's just get better and just keep this vision in your mind of how you want to row and how you want to perform, and make sure once it comes to Henley, you could do that, and nothing else really matters.
Yeah. How fair is it to ask you about? Okay, so if you want to be in the Thames first eight, then your ballpark 2K Ergo needs to be between this and this score.
Well, men or the women or both?
Both.
You mean 2K or 5Ks?
What's the best for you to talk about?
Well, we do 20-minute testing here, so we do that.
Oh, right, go on. Talk me through why you do that.
We do that because we had a men's coach a couple of years ago, Jeroen van der Kal, who actually coaches at the Hope now.
Yeah.
So I've been meeting Jeroen quite a bit at Henley, and Jeroen came in, and he's also a physiologist, and he introduced 20-minute tests with us, and that really sets up our training zones. So our UT1 and UT2 scores, our threshold, all that stuff. So we use the 20 minutes to get really accurate training zones for everyone. So that's why we use the 20-minute test. So it really comes out of cycling, and it's been a successful formula since like 2019. So we just it works. We have a lot of data on it, so we're gonna keep it up.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds really interesting. So I guess that would be, so it's longer than the 5K. So I guess because it's longer, you get more information. Therefore,
yeah. Well, it's I don't know if you get more information. You just get the information you want to get off a 20-minute test. And the nice thing is you can do, because the men and women run the same program, you can run men and women testing together because it's all 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So sometimes when they have a test, they all sit, men and women are across the rows. It depends. Some of the women really like to test with the guys because they like their rhythm, and the other way around. So so it really helps both squads.
I think when Ollie Zeidler did his, well, it's not a world record anymore, on the Concept 2 a couple of weeks ago, the men and the women for the Swiss team were doing it together. I wonder, have you got any inside information on how Simon van Dorp destroyed Ollie Zeidler's world's best time?
No.
Because, well, you must do, because you're from the Netherlands and he's from the Netherlands, and they talk to you.
I had a couple of athletes left in the team, like last year, but they're all retiring now. Like Veronique, I've coached Veronique in 16. She just retired. And I coached Imke in 16. I was also in the pair of Veronique, and she's still in the team, I think. Everybody's retiring, so I don't know anyone.
Oh, well, I think you need to spend a bit of time in the Netherlands just to find out stuff. I know you were there last weekend. As you look, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the way Ollie paced his world record 2K and the way Simon did, and what your thoughts are on that pacing, if you have looked at it.
No, I think Ollie Zeidler is an absolute maniac. He's go off so hard and then just hold on, and then Van Dorp did it obviously a little bit the other way. He basically sat on the pace and then just yanked it down at the end. I thought, it depends. I think Zeidler is a bit more. He's got probably so much top end power that he probably can get away with it and still hold a really good pace. So it probably works for him. And for Simon, it's probably the other way around. He probably just be close and then drop the hammer a bit later. But it's also how they race, right? Like if you see them race in the single, Zeidler just goes out really hard and grabs a big lead and just tries to control it from there. And Simon is a bit more like sit in the pack, come through the middle, and drop the hammer really hard with probably like 2 minutes to go. And sometimes it works, like in Lucerne in 24, and sometimes it doesn't work.
I have to say that race is one of the great singles races.
Oh, yeah.
That race that Simon
Yeah.
beat Ollie in Lucerne in 24.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. What about it's interesting for the men. You've got those two. Brooke Mooney, she holds the world record for women. Is it what? Is it 23? The world record for the women
On the static.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Yeah, maybe 22 even.
22.
I thought it was
Yeah.
someone from UW or something, or was it someone from Australia?
No,
Yeah,
it's
insane.
Brooke Mooney from UW, but she's
insane score.
I think she's retired. So is anyone, do you think, going to break that 6:22 for the women? Because we don't seem to get the same rivalry on the women. I know, you know.
I don't know. Obviously, yeah, there must be someone out there who can do it. But like a Van Dorp Cider rivalry, we should enjoy it while it lasts because it's quite unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There must be a couple of women out there who are able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While we're talking about ergos, what was your PB on the erg?
6:03.
Oh, decent.
Yeah,
split.
It was a horrible test. Went really wrong. Because I got a bit too eager with 500, 450 to go.
Yeah.
With 129 and 129.8 or 9 average on the screen. I was like, I'm gonna go sub 6, and then I got a bit too excited, dropped too many splits, and then it went completely the other way. So I remember the last 200 meters, I saw a couple of 140s, half slide, everything cramped. I was like, horrible. But it's still my PB, so I've got to be happy with it.
Yeah. We've got a question from Epic Ford here. Who's saying it's great to race Thames last weekend at the Heineken in Amsterdam. So the thoughts on how the Dutch row compared to the UK. So, I mean, that may mean Dutch university crews. It may mean the Dutch national team. Compared to the UK style. I mean, where do you want to take this question?
Well, it's actually a really good question. So, it's like Dutch rowing is basically all about efficiency, and that's also really based in the culture of the Netherlands. Everything is efficient. If you, for instance, look at how roads are built in Amsterdam or most everything is about efficiency, and everything needs to be structured and clear, and that's in a way how Dutch rowing is. So if you hear all the junior coaches speak to their kids, nobody talks about pushing hard, really.
Oh, wow.
Nobody. It's all about being relaxed, feeling the boat, feeling the run, playing with the boat, having a lot of like small boat skills. And actually, if you talk to the guys on the 96 Dutch 8, so I know quite a few of them. So I know Nico a little bit, and Niels, who's in the 5 seat, and also know Diederik and Michiel, who's in the 3 seat, because Michiel and I still speak quite a bit. They're all about like, what makes your 8 so fast? And I was like, oh, we just knew how to row the pair really well. We can literally do anything we want in the pair, and we can all row the single really well.
Yeah.
So the base of them is master small boats first. Like, make sure you can play. So, and that makes rowing very efficient. So everything is about efficiency, about being relaxed. And obviously now with the training program they do and the hours they do, that they go hard at the start. That efficiency gets them so far because they are so efficient with their speed in the 1500 after the first 500, because they blast out the start at the moment. So it basically has a lot to do with the culture of the country.
Talk to me about what you've experienced, because I know you've been around Caversham, and I'm not necessarily talking. You have to talk about Caversham, but what is the culture as you experience it in this country then, and how does that slightly differ or a lot differ?
It's a bit more about just working really hard. Obviously, still a lot of like cornerstones are really strong, like row long, but focus on distance per stroke. But there's just a bit more emphasis earlier in people's rowing careers of putting power down on the water. So, and also, I think maybe because the groups here are bigger, you want to find out the kids who want it. You don't have time to, like, for instance, junior squads in the Netherlands are maybe 8, 12 kids.
Yeah.
And here, if you see the schools here going out with like 5 J15 octos or 14s,
Yeah.
like, how are you going to give individual coaching? You're just happy that they don't crash into each other. So I see Dulwich here go out, and KCS, and who knows what, and Westminster, and in the Netherlands, it's like, yeah, you throw them all in the single, and everybody gets a little bit of their attention, and there are like 3 coaches for like 9 rowers or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's a lot of individual attention probably quite early on for small boat skills, and here it's a bit different. So, and here you just want to find out who wants it, and there's also probably a bit more erging early on. In the Netherlands, like, you don't really, erging is not really a big thing when you're young.
Yeah. How has anything in the British psyche or culture of rowing influenced you or not? Or are you an unreconstructed Dutchman who is fighting a culture war?
No, I'm not fighting a culture war. I'm always been quite good at adapting to my surroundings. So I would say for a Dutch guy, I'm pretty British in a lot of ways, and a couple of things that I picked up in my first year, especially from Ben Lewis, it's like, it's a technical session, means you can still pull really hard. That was a lovely one. It's
okay.
Like, okay. And obviously the term, sometimes you just need to get on with it.
Yeah.
And then the Dutch people want discussions, you know, and I'm like, no, you just need to get on with it. That's something that I picked up really here. But then also I tried to get a bit more Dutch culture influences in here of like, don't waste strokes. Make sure you think a bit more about your rowing. Make sure you know what relaxing is. Like, if I let my men's aids or women's here row light pedal, they are still at 60% pressure. I was like, how the hell can you guys not understand what light rowing is? like ghost pressure, and then do even less than that. That's light pedal rowing. In the Netherlands, I got coached at Neerhuis by Diederik when I was like 19, 20 years old. But I also got coached by Ruud Stokvis and Roel Leinenburg, and they were the pair of the 68 Olympics and the 72 Olympics.
Wow.
And Roel and Ruud always said, like, we either did light pedal or minute on, minute off, like super old school coaching.
Yeah.
But they were really good at explaining to us that if you can't row light properly, you can't row at speed properly. And actually the core of high speed rowing is exactly in that. So sometimes, and we would do a drill, for instance, when you would do 9 light strokes and then 1 hard, and you needed maximum acceleration, and then 8 light strokes, 2 hard, all the way to 1 light and 9 hard, and then go back the other way. And you would be like so eager for that fast stroke because it's so much fun. And the rule would be like, no, relax. No, keep controlling the boat. And the trick was that in the 9 light strokes, the boat would be completely under control. You roll completely in time, like rate 11 or 12. Blades off the water, super chill. Yeah. And then that 1 stroke needs to be perfect. Perfect sound, perfect time on the water, maximum acceleration, and then back to light. So we did a lot of that kind of stuff, just playing. And that was like 2000, 2001.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you explain for people that don't know who Diederik Simon is, why he's such a great, cool guy, and what his influence on you has been?
So for the people who don't know, Diederik went to the Olympics 5 times. And Diederik started rowing when he was 21. And he walked into Neerhuis, I think, with a tracksuit bottoms on and a cigarette in his mouth. I was like, what's this? And then this is rowing. And then he sort of started, he did like the introduction period, which is 6 weeks at the time, and then got hooked into rowing, and then made the freshman 8 in his first year. And then that was 92. And then he saw the Dutch 8 row the next year, the start of the Dutch 8. And I was like, I'm going to be in this 8. And everybody said, you're mad. Anyway, 4 years later, he had Olympic gold medal around his neck in that 8. Like, and the stories about him, like if he would go for something, he would absolutely go for it. And obviously he went from winning the freshman 8 in 92 to winning Olympic gold in 96. It's still insane if you think about it. And that 8 was quick. I know a couple of times I did. They were so fast. And then obviously he went to sculling because that was a new challenge with Michiel Bartman in the quad, and then got silver in Sydney. And then I think he kept on sculling, and then he did 3 more Olympics on the 8. So he got silver in Athens, I think 4th in Beijing, and then he got 5th in London when he was 42 years old. That's astounding how he just kept going.
So his influence on you.
Yeah. Well, like,
actually,
Diederik is really good. Like Diederik is always like explaining his influence on me. Like, well, he always made sort of like, he made me realize what's important in rowing, and rowing is about, it's a team sport. He always said, so you need to always let rowers know it's a team sport. Like, this individual behavior is not, that's not going to make an 8 go fast. You need, at the end, you need to work together. And I also said, like, the basis of rowing is, for instance, at a club like Nerais and a club like here, the bread and butter for Nerais has always been the freshman 8s, and therefore from there on you build bigger squads next year, and you go to Henley and you try to win the student events.
Yeah.
And their focus shouldn't be national team people, because that's not the club, that's more the athlete themselves that choose to do that. They want more, they're gonna do more training, they are motivated, they are disciplined. And it's the same, that's basically a base of culture I try to have here as well. Like, our bread and butter is club rowing. Do well to head, do well to Henley in the club events. And if guys want to continue, we can try to do well in the intermediate events or trial for under 23s or beyond that. But that's more up to them. So that's something that Diederik was really strong about, and that's something that I always really believed in. And I think that's something that I think we do quite well, to never forget your core business. What Diederik is also really good at is really getting a team together. It's like, make sure you're doing a lot of training, it's intense enough. Make sure you have fun. Make sure that it's a fun crew, get to know each other. Don't be afraid for after a super hard day and some selection that you go on the beers together. I'm always the first one here to say, like, hey guys, big week of training, lots of selection, and you got 2 days off. Don't forget to drink some beers tonight. Actually, if you go to the Rocket up the road, I'll pay the first round. Like, have fun. Like, it's intense enough with the amount of training and the selection you have. So, and Diederik was always really good at that, to make sure you have fun, because he said, like, if you're, well, he never said it, but you just saw it in his actions. Like, if you're really having fun and you know when to switch on, you also, and you know, especially know when to switch off, it's really good to have that, like, that super performance on the day by being super fresh and super relaxed.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, he was really, really good at that. Obviously, I don't know how he was with the Dutch 8, but it did look like that group had a lot of fun together last year, or the last couple of years. Like,
so I know something of the speed of that Olympic 8 that got the silver medal. I know they did a couple of sub 4s over 1500 on the Bosbahn.
yeah.
What's your sense? So was the 8 that Diederik coached to a World Championship gold? I think the first ever time the Dutch have won that medal.
Yeah.
Was that, how much faster or slower was it than the 8 that got the silver medal in the Olympics?
Well, like, I haven't heard times or anything, but you said it as well, that you spoke to some of the guys, and you said it on the live stream at World Champs, that, the guys themselves said we are quicker than last year. I think it was the 7-man, Jan van der Bij.
Yeah.
I actually know the stroke man, Mick, because I coached Mick in his freshman year in 2013.
Yeah.
And I haven't actually spoken to Mick at all. I actually saw him last weekend, and I was like, mate, you no idea how happy I was saw you guys win. It was unreal. Yeah. So it was really cool. But I don't know the times. But if they said they were quicker, then yeah, I do believe them. But I haven't heard any times or anything. So, but they look good. I think they rode a little bit better. I think they rode a little bit longer than the year before. That's what I spoke. We actually spoke with James Rodkin here quite a bit about it. Like, he says, like, they just look a bit better. They just look longer.
Yeah.
Looked a bit, sometimes in 24, just a little bit, maybe a little bit short. Yeah, so maybe that was a technique thing or a bit of a confidence thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, because so for me, it will be fascinating to see. I guess. So, how much of a culture change will it be? Someone else coaching the 8? Because Diedrich has retired, or not
Yeah,
retired. He's stepped out. I mean, he's like I don't know. He's like a pirate in a crew. A
he's an
crew of.
artist. That's what he is.
He's an artist in a
Yeah.
in a sort of organization that wants something more structured,
Yeah.
and Digit wants. So, how do you think the 8 will cope without his philosophy?
I really don't know. It's all up in the air now. I don't
Yeah,
know. Yeah. I mean, I hope, and Diederik will hope that as well. We all hope that they just continue on the level they're on, and maybe even better than that. So that's what the guys need to do as well. Like, look, you have to do it without him. Maybe, and he'll be super proud if you can do it without him.
yeah.
Like, he will never make it about him ever. The fact that I mentioned him like 4 times now, I'll probably get a text like, "Why are you talking about me? Shut up."
Yeah, I know. He
Yeah.
he doesn't want to be. He's never wanted. He won't appear on Cross's Corner, but he'll be very kind enough to buy me beers at regattas and talk endlessly, which I really appreciate for him.
Yeah.
Let's talk about women's rowing and Henley. Obviously, the Brit is like a Thames rowing club event now. You've won it in the last 4 years, but
Yeah.
I think this is the last year.
Yeah.
What do you think of that change, and what's its impact going to be on?
No, I think it's super good. I think I did think the last couple of years, especially like 3-man events, club events, which is too much. So, and we always thought, we had talked in the club here as well, like, look, if an event's going to go, it's going to be the Brit, and there are new women events coming in. So, no, I applaud it. I think it's super good, the change that the stewards made. Yeah.
So, are you going to have more scullers then?
Yeah, but actually, I had a few women in the squad, well, more than a few that actually had sculled. So quite a few girls that actually rode the Tideway Scullers and then went to Newcastle and are now here. So we have quite a few girls that actually sculled before, and we have a couple of girls who went to Reading. But we did start a bit late because I was like, well, as long as I don't know what's going on, I'm just going to sweep.
Yeah.
There was also rumors it might be a 4. So we sculling the day after Remnant Challenge. So it was like 3 days after the steward said it was a quad. I was like, okay, we're sculling.
Yeah.
And then we just started sculling, yeah.
What's your sculling coaching like?
Well, I haven't actually done a lot of sculling coaching, but I've sculled myself a lot, obviously, because that's what you have to do in the Netherlands if you want to be good. You're in a single. So, but I did have a year in 2023. I coached Prince of Wales squad that made the semi-final. Unfortunately, we lost to the under-23s of the Netherlands, but we're super happy with the project. So that was basically my proper full year of sculling coaching at that level. I coached juniors before at the Hope, so I did a fair few kids. I got kids to like junior worlds and the coupe sculling, doubles and singles.
Yeah.
But I never thought myself as a proper sculling coach. I felt like I was probably a bit more expertise in sweep. But I'm actually not coaching it. One of my assistant coaches, volunteer coaches, is coaching it. He actually coached at Headington before and Edinburgh, Ewan Dickerson. So, and he loves it. So,
do you have a surfeit of people, of coaches wanting to coach at Thames because the standard's so high?
Yeah.
Or do you have to? Are you turning people away?
Well, yeah. Like if the coaching team is full and we don't need more help, yeah. I do. We do get some new coaches from outside in, but most of the coaches we have are actually ex-Thames athletes.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a bit of a mix. So
yeah. Do you have a ceiling? Say with the women's squad, can any woman turn up and be looked at Is there a cut-off? Because I always remember my
Mm.
my daughter, when she was novice women's captain at Warwick, she had like 70 women turn up for trials, and they only had space for like 2 8s. So her biggest job was getting rid of all these women who were keen to try rowing. So how does it work for you? Because you must have a limitation somewhere.
Yeah. We just don't have that many seats. So this year we started the year by telling the squad we're limiting to 5/8s for the men and 5/8s for the women.
Yeah.
But the women's squad turned out to be a bit stronger. And then I decided to make 6/8s for WeHor. But normally we do try to keep it like around 5. And then obviously you got a couple of more people because you need some spares. But yeah, we do let everybody in pretty much the first day, and like someone is really off the pace, then we'll have an honest conversation like, hey, it's maybe better if you try somewhere else, like you're like quite warped bar, you're not going to make up the mostly physicality, you just have to go off Erg test really, you can't really go on rowing sometimes. So yeah, there's not like a cutoff. We don't actively talk about a cutoff here. We just sort of see what walks into the door. You'll be surprised. Some people walk into the door and you'll be like, oh, I'll see what that does. And then they go really quick. You're like, oh, okay. And we had one guy a couple of years ago. I met him at the opening barbecue, which is a couple of days before the season starts. And he came from Exeter, and he was like 74 kilos and but quite tall. And then I asked him like, oh, you want to row here? Yeah, cool. Okay. What do you do on like 5K? Oh, this and this. I was like, okay. Do you like training? Yeah. You're not afraid of a little bit of pain? No. And the look in his eye, I was like, okay, see what you can do on Saturday. And I think he's PB'd. He started his first 20 minutes that year. He did like 44, and now he's in the 138s. And he gained like 5 kilos. So you're like, okay, well, he was willing to put in the work day after day after day, and he got better and better and better. So so sometimes you just don't know.
How does the club, like, if you must have 12/8s, I'm guessing then that can.
No, we have 5/8s on each side, so we do have to borrow sometimes boats. So we borrowed. So one of the bottom women there, it's actually quite old now, so we didn't use that one for the head. So we used the boat from IC and we used the boat from Westminster. Yeah. So we do have to sometimes borrow, but then we have a tank at the club in the weights gym, and then so we could get the boat from IC in Westminster if they can use the tank. That's sort of like a deal we have with them.
Yeah. So with the women, because it was like if you were interested in being in the top women's club, you went to Thames. Now it seems the women might have more choices. I mean, like one that springs to mind is Molesey for a start.
Yeah.
How's that come about or developed, and what are the implications for you with that?
I mean, with sculling?
No, rowing, sweep. I'm guessing that was in my head at first, but Molesey seems stronger now than it has been for women's rowing, and
they've been good before. When I started coaching the women in 2019, they were quite good because Phil Bourguignon was the head coach.
Yeah, that's right.
And he had a pretty good squad. They were quite strong. And then they just went through a bit of a down period. And then they've just been building back up since, 23-ish.
Yeah.
So I always thought like, it's a matter of time before Molesey will come back out. That club has too much history. The location is too good. And then obviously when Sam took over, he has done a great job of building it up quite quick. And obviously with success with the Wargrave last year. So I always thought like, it's a matter of time. And with the London as well, when they I think they had a pretty big jump in women's at London, and maybe I don't know if they took a step back or they're sort of like holding space, but it's a matter of time before they make another jump again.
Yeah,
that's what women's rowing is doing at the moment. It's really hard. I think it was like, what do you think is going to happen? So I have no idea, because women's rowing is growing so fast. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen. So
yeah. London Rowing Club men, what's gone on there?
Well, they're good.
Yeah,
Obviously.
why? How's that? It's not it. I mean, that's a bit of a shitty question to ask the chief coach at Thames. Like,
No, they're good.
yeah, but like,
And as the Stu has done an amazing job with the committee and the club. I mean, that's it. Amazing job. Got a core group of guys together, I think, around 2021.
Yeah.
2020 and 2021, and has been adding guys on, and it was building and building and building. And made fair play to them. They just kept at it and kept at it. I actually spoke to some of the guys here who won in 2015, the first Thames Cup that won since 1930s. Like, how do you guys do it? Because, you know, it's you need to understand that psyche of how London works and London thinks, and it's like it's very impressive. Like, so, and it's a fantastic rivalry at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. We're all enjoying it. I hope Stu's enjoying it. I mean, it's tense, but no, it's super good. Super good for the sport. I mean, the Bowstead is probably one of the most insane races you can see the last couple of years. So the last 3 years has been within a length. It's nuts.
Well, that's crazy. I remember racing the Bowstead a long time ago. Tell us where. I can't remember where it's from and to. Is it one of the flagpoles? It's
the boat race finish, so the Head of the River start to London flagpole.
To the London flagpole.
Yeah.
And it's a standing start there, isn't it?
Standing start. Yeah.
And who decides who gets which station? Do you toss?
No, coin toss and everything, just like the boat race. Yeah.
And do you have? I know, like, so the boat race has been won on Middlesex. The men's boat race has been won on Middlesex. I think the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So, what's the strategy for choosing the station for the Bowstead Cup then?
I've got to think who. So we won it 3 years ago. And then London won it, and then we won it last year. I think last year we were on Surrey. And London was on... I think we were on Surrey the year before as well. And the year before, I don't know. And London won on Middlesex 2 years ago. And last year we won on Surrey.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything in it.
Oh, that's really interesting. While I just mentioned the boat race, what are your views about who might win the boat race? Let's go the women first. You don't have to answer this, by the way, if you don't want to.
Well, no, I would say the form book is probably with Oxford.
Yeah.
But based on some results and Heather Charles, but Paddy is Paddy, and he somehow does know how to pull the rabbit out of the hat in the last 2 weeks. So I think the buzz around it is more alive than ever. So I'm really interested to see how that one plays out. But I would probably say like it looks a bit more like towards Oxford this year.
Yeah. I couldn't believe how quick they were relative to their 5K or 2.5K at the Heineken Cup. They were so quick on the 250 and the 750.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of horse in that Stern 4.
Yeah. I did see that. Yeah, it'll be interesting how it plays out because
How do you see the men's race going, Xander?
Oh, Cambridge, I think.
Yeah.
No, Cambridge. Absolutely, it's insane the group they have. I thought last year was nuts. This is probably even better.
More nuts. Yeah. I mean, you've got guys in the second 8, you know, like Simon Nunian and Luke Beaver, I think, Calvin Tarzi.
Yes.
Off
the charts.
It's just like, you know, that 8 could... have you raced Goldie?
We raced Goldie a week after their camp in January.
It's early on.
And we went to them. So we went to Ely.
Okay.
Yeah, we lost both pieces, but I think the only thing was like we only did 2-minute pieces. So I think after 2 minutes, my guys didn't know what to do. But like they were super quick. The whole guys were like, "Oh my god, Goldie is so fast this year."
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're super quick.
One of the things I wonder is how long down the track Oxford can make it a good race.
Yeah.
And I don't know the answer to that. I guess we'll see on April the 4th.
Yeah. No, I'll be curious. I'll be up in a mountain, probably drinking a beer to see it, because I'm skiing. I'm not around.
Oh, so you're going off after the men's head?
Yeah,
Is that your break? Do you get holidays? Do they give you holidays?
I've got. So we take normally. I'm off from like 20th of December till the 2nd or 3rd of Jan.
Yeah.
And then celebrate Christmas, and then probably go away for a week. Normally we go skiing, and then after the head we go normally a week away for skiing. So we do that. So the last couple of years I've seen the boat race. I saw the boat race last year was later. So last year, I was at April trials for Caversham, and I walked in 5 minutes before the boat race start. I walked in, I can just lean out my own window, and we had loads of people over, so it was quite fun. And then the years before that, we were in a bar somewhere in Val d'Isère with Nat, my girlfriend, and watched it. And the other year we were in the airport and watching it. So yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So tell us about your involvement with Caversham, and how they talk to you and what they ask you to do.
So obviously we have quite a few gap year boys, mostly every year, and we go to trials with them, and also we want to get a bit more. We basically want to be a bit more seen on the trial scene. Also, it's some people don't realize that we trial, so we're trying to make it a bit more visible, and just give those younger kids that exposure of. And after junior rowing, a bit more exposure to the under-23 trial system, because you do see that they pick up a lot by just being in November trials and doing the development camp in December and doing February trials and the whole system. And we try to get as many as we can into April trials. So this year's been quite good. We got 6 guys in.
Oh wow!
So yeah, that has been happening, and that's been a long time coming, and it has been taking a while to get there. But it's really, really exciting for us. So yeah, but that also means that me and Jack, we're just around the trial system more, and the coaches, and showing our face at the development camps and at Caversham as well. And also Jack and I always like, for us it's also good. We're always open to learn. We always pick up stuff, like other coaches as well, like Shep, Brian Young, or Kieran is still there in the summer quite a bit. Sometimes I see Andy go follow a crew with him, or with I think remember last year at Caversham I spoke to Steve Trapmore for a long time, which is really fun.
He's
a proper technician, and
so
it's a really cool environment, because obviously British rowing has been so successful the last 20 years. So we want to soak up as much information as I can.
Yeah, definitely. How ambitious are you in terms of, I don't know, I assume international coaching, but it might not necessarily be that.
Me? Well, when I was younger, I was super ambitious. I really wanted to go in a national team or something, and always had the vision of going maybe to the US and coaching at universities like Harvard or Cal. But I landed now in Thames and having a great time, and I don't see myself leaving anytime soon, because it's quite a good gig with club rowing and trialing and doing races like the Heineken and going to Henley every year and living in Putney. Pretty much a life that you're a lot of people will be like, wow, you got it sorted. And I do. So but yeah, do I want to sometimes maybe do an under-23 thing or something? Yeah. And I'll let Shep know. Shep knows that.
Yeah.
But I don't have to do it every summer. I also like my summers off. So
yeah, that's important, isn't it? One thing I was going to ask you, but I kind of went on to something else. But of all the 8s you've been involved with, who's rowed the best? Or I was going to ask you, who's rowed the most like the Dutch 8, that influenced you, that 96 8?
I mean, of the Thames 8s.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. The Thames 8s.
Well,
I'm interested.
probably...
I'm not interested in speedness. I'm interested in the way they rode. Like Diedrich would say, that's beautiful. That's a work of art. Which 8 was closest to that?
Well, I probably have to pick 2 8s.
Oh, go on. That's interesting.
So it's my first year at the 2017 8 with the Thames final with Tom Phelps and stroke, and Vlad was coxing that. That was quite a fun cruise. Also my first Henley win.
Yeah.
I really coached them like my vision. Also, Vlad and I really always agreed on having a really snappy front end and a really like loose hang on top. So I was always quite happy with how that crew rode, but especially back then. But I probably have to pick the crew that came third at the Head of the River last year just above that, because that was
Tell me why. Tell me
impressive.
Why.
Well, the guys just came off the water and they were just buzzing how well it went. And like the boat was on rails and we went to the start and we felt so strong and it all clicked. It all fell into place. And then they came through Barnes where I always stand and take videos. And then I cycled over to the Black Boy and then took the video of the final like 2 minutes. And the boat was just running and running and running. And it was just so easy. So they came off the water and it was like so easy. And the results were a bit delayed. And then we found it like 20 minutes later we came third, and then obviously the euphoria of coming third was on top of that. But like they were just buzzing how well it went, and that was, and obviously it's a massive help that you got someone like James Rutkin in the boat, and Rutkin and I are really on the same page if it comes to rowing technique and talking about feel and being relaxed. So he's British, but he talks about rowing a lot like he's Dutch as well.
He does. I was with him in the in America. Was it in Carolina for the Lenny Peters Cup. And I gather he's going out there again this year.
Yeah, no, he's training quite a bit at the moment to be fit for it. I think he's going with Sholto as well. So Sholto is also sculling. They're going out pairs and doubles and whatnot.
Yeah, I think actually Eugene Kinnemouth or Gene Kinnemouth has put together a pretty good world team, which I've kind of got in front of me, but I don't know if I can say any names, so I'm not going to say any names.
No, don't.
It looks pretty impressive. All I'd say is big up to Gene Kinnemouth. So what's the future like for Thames this year, Sander?
Just keep getting better. You know, can we push club rowing to a new level again? It's such a fascinating puzzle of getting everything out of the athletes when you basically can't train more than 11 times a week.
Yeah,
it's like, can you do better? Can you do even better? I'm always trying to squeeze out every minute they can be here. Can I squeeze out more? Can I make it more efficient, even smarter? Everything, not just the training, but also the mindset, the technique, the culture, everything. That's a fun game to play here. And are we dreaming of at some point being lucky enough that we get some guys from the US back and maybe have a shot at the intermediate event? Would be awesome.
Yeah.
Or, finishing at head third again. Like, that felt almost like we won the play. That feeling was amazing. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that and just get better. Just get a bit better every year, and I always feel like we're improving. It's just the most fun game to play. And then if you do, and if you do that, then you should be happy. Like for instance, in 24, we won the Brits and the Thames with the men, and obviously with the girls we won the Wargrave with women, and everybody said, "Oh, what a good year!" And the last year, we only won the Thames. Or the Brits, and because we lost the Thames and the Rifle to London, and everybody's like, "Are you disappointed?" It's like, no, because we got pretty much everything out of this group. What can more? We just got beaten by someone who's just better. I wasn't disappointed at all. To be fair, in the Brit, we had someone who Rich Hume who won finally after his 5th year 10. So I was like, Rich Hume won. Who cares?
That's sensational, isn't it? When
Yeah,
somebody...
yeah, it was a sensational story. We were so happy for him. So I was like, yeah, we lost the Thames and we lost the Wyfold semi, but we just got beaten by someone who's just better. Like, and did we get everything out of those crews at the time? Yes, 100%. If we look back at it and analyze everything, could we done maybe a bit better? Yeah, maybe, you know, but you write everything down and you evaluate and then you move on to the next year and then you change a couple of things.
Yeah.
So
I love that. We've been talking for an hour and you've got a life. I will say it's been fantastic. It's been a privilege talking to you, Xander, and it's lived up to all my expectations. Thank you so much. We'll end the live part of this interview now.
Okay. Thanks, Crossy.